You're tuned in to RX Radio.
I have controls too. I don't have controls today.
I think it's because I just went in the room and shared it with you. We didn't No one cares to hear this, but we're here.
I gotta say that we've been doing good and getting all our stuff to work lately.
Yeah, as far as I know, we've had no technical issues.
This is exactly when we get a text message from like Jay Marsh or Lundy. Yeah. Your mics weren't on, and we had to render the entire episode from lip reading what we thought you were saying because there's some dumb shit like
we made
that.
An AI voice for you.
But yeah, anyways, full swing, 2025. We're in one.
We're here.
We're here. We're here, nicotine and all. God bless.
That's right. God bless.
Inshallah. Oh, well, hold on. What flavor we got there? That's a new one. That's a purple flavor.
This is mint. Mint.
Oh, but that's not mint. Mint. What color is that? You got to put the ham behind it, dog. You taught me that.
Yeah, no. Mint. MINT.
Oh, okay. It's like blue.
Yeah, no. This other one was mango. You got
mango and nicotine. That's interesting.
It's more delicious than you might think.
You're a Renaissance man. You are.
Thank you.
A connoisseur. I've seen you. You're a refined gentleman, is what you are.
Oh, that's generous.
Dog, have you ever seen pictures of yourself from grad school?
I don't know what you're getting at here.
You were like, now every time I see you, you're taken care of, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
You're like, this is just about time. You'll probably get that lined up. What, today or tomorrow? You'll go get chopped.
Yeah, Friday
morning. Get faded.
Yeah.
See? But before, you didn't give a still don't give a fuck. But people don't know that you don't give a fuck.
That's true. I wore it on my face then.
You wore it, dude. Your beard was righteous.
Yeah. It was just straight up homeless. It was a cry for help, is what it was.
Yeah.
Can't you guys see that my face says that I need someone to help me here? Just give me something.
You look like a fit mall Santa. That was like this kind of like.
Yeah.
Your beard gets long, it starts to curl a bit, right? Like you kind of had this like. It was haggard.
Got that Arab blood in me.
Oh yeah, well, you're part Leb too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mom's side? Yeah, it's mom's side.
Mom's side. Yeah. And
Did Dad know? Dad know? You found out.
Yeah, that's probably why they split.
But Lebanese people are the most generous, though. They're the most generous people.
Yeah,
I fuck with
Lebanese family.
Yeah. Habibi all day. Bring that garlic sauce. Forget about it.
Ooh, garlic yogurt. Yeah,
dude, it's tough, dog. That is. Anyways, but yeah, people don't be knowing. Like, we started the podcast after school. We were way worse in school. Way worse.
Yeah. Imagine
so bad.
This with nothing to lose.
And that's so good. Oh my God.
A bunch of
literally it.
Just a bunch of angst and nothing to lose.
Reckless. The thought of like prison being an all-inclusive resort is kind of how I looked at it. It was like, wait, I got room and board? Are you joking me?
Yeah,
I lived in a guy's backyard when we started the podcast. I don't think people realize like where exactly we were at.
God,
like
so bad.
It
was
a
townhome, a 4-bedroom townhome with 4 other people.
Yo, I can't do townhomes, man. It's like living in a ladder. It's insane.
Yeah, no. If I had to go back to that, I would just promptly kill myself. I would just end my life.
I was, you know what? I was lucky. I did the roommate thing out the jump. Shout out K Vieser. And I never had a roommate after that. Shout out K Vieser. I had one roommate. I had like a roommate in undergrad in dorms, and I had a roommate when I first moved out in an apartment, and I never looked back. And I never, the last roommate I had in undergrad, he was this kid. He was diabetic and he was an alcoholic. Crazy combination.
Oh, that's wild. You're just asking for it.
Yeah. Well, that's so like
cry for help to my face,
dude, it was nuts. Well, you should have seen his face when I was done with him. This kid, straight up, he like came in one night and he called me. So it was like 2 separate bedrooms, a communal bathroom, and like a communal kitchen. And that was kind of like the dorm room. And he came in like 2, 3 in the morning. And sometimes you'd get fucked up and I'd have to like check his blood sugar and fucking jab him with Slin. And dude just got like, when he was sober, polite, quiet, very nice. Like I fuck with him heavy. He was a great dude. And then like one night he just turned on me, like came home late, like he was about to lay one into his wife. but his wife was a 260-pound juice to the gills, kind of angry kid. And he like, I literally awoke to like the door getting like kicked open. And I was just like, oh, this is how we're going to like, and I thought it was someone else. It was like fairly mild mannered.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you're a bitch. I was like, oh, now this is happening. Now this is, dude, I literally backed him into the hallway and threw him through the door on the other side. The guy whose door I threw him through was the resident assistant. He like lived there. He was a bit older. It was part of his job. He had free board. Yeah. And I ended up moving in with that guy after he left.
That's hilarious.
And I literally just chucked it. The next day I woke up. I was on the first floor. I looked outside. He was standing on the curb with all of his stuff. He dropped out of school. He packed out. He's like,
man, I bet he's using different needles now.
Yeah, just different. Yeah, straight IV. Man. I wonder if you can mix insulin and fentanyl together.
Nothing says I'm drunk and I'm not leaving until I cause problems. Like, you're a bitch. That's like the slogan for I'm drunk and we're going to fight.
Right. Just zero creativity whatsoever. Just, it's basically like I opted to not sucker punch you. Like, that was pretty much one step away from just punching you for no reason. Yeah.
Like you said, he's a gentleman, mild mannered.
Dude, it was wild. Man, I used to be so aggressive. My fuse, because again, nothing to lose, right? Like,
yeah,
I fucking chucked this kid.
So
like I threw him. You know, you ever see security cameras back in the day before everything was fucking 10K, where they'd be on like a 1 second lag. So like someone would be walking down the hallway, it would kind of just be like a flip book.
Yeah, like frame by frame.
Yeah. One frame, he's in my doorway. Next frame, he's in the other doorway. It was timed out perfect. And I just fucking launched him and he sailed, fucking knocked the thing right off the hinges. It was great. But yeah, I can't do the roommate thing.
Yeah.
Out the game on that. A lot has changed since.
It has, man. Yeah, we're adults now. Adults, you know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Good and bad, I guess.
You know, I'm glad we don't have kids.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, I'm so glad.
We're not that kind of adult. That's always like the disclaimer I'll make with people. It's like
we're like, go ahead.
No, I have enough responsibility to look after myself. Hard stop.
Right. I mean, I feel like running a business is the responsibility of having a kid, but much more rewarding.
Oh yeah, the rewarding part for sure. Don't know about the responsibility part, but like, I don't know. That's like a caveat of like, yeah, you know, got my shit together, but enough for me and me only.
Yeah. I feel that, man. I don't. I'm just too selfish.
Yeah, and my training reflects. I think you know, per our potential topic of conversation today, I think our training. I actually had a moment today when I was training where it was like a moment of wisdom, a moment of like I would have done something else, but I opted to do the other thing instead. I may not have grown or progressed in any other way in my entire life, but there are definitely points in training where I was like, this is different, and I'm glad.
Yeah, that's responsible. Do you still have times where you'll just be like, you know, I know this is a bad idea, but fuck it?
Yeah, but it's, you know what? The outcome is so muted, but the mindset is still the same. Gotcha. Like I got a weird knee thing from my torn quad, and it puts a lot of strain on my adductor in like more knee dominant movements. I just try and figure out a way if I'm in deep knee flexion to meander my adductor magnus into just extending my hip instead. Because like I got a pretty nasty tear in my VMO. So I'm like missing a chunk. So like I go into like a walking lunge or something, and then all of a sudden, and I've had it pop on me before. And I had it pop, and like, dude, I'm talking, this was pre-COVID, you know, with straps, training at Dawn's gym on Broadway in New York, 100-pound dumbbells, each hand, walking lunges. Like it was like, yeah, you know, you're popping adductor, like perfect form, fucking that's it. Dude, I was literally training this morning and I had like I might tear it, but I don't care moment. But I was using 35-pound dumbbells. And I'm like, man, like literally like I would just be lay there like Peter Griffin, like, So it didn't happen, went for it, went well, but it almost had a moment of like, really, this is where my mental fortitude is being tested with 35-pound dumbbells on walking lunges. But you get in where you fit in, man. Like that's kind of it. It's just like, at a certain point, the itch you need to scratch is really just the idea of hard as a stimulus. It's not a useful stimulus to like muscle growth or hypertrophy or anything like that, but it's like it's doing something difficult. And a lot of times, dude, like I was thinking of this today. I was getting back into leg pressing. Like that's how fucked up my knees are. I'm getting back into leg pressing. And I was on like 4 plates aside on a leg press, which is like, I don't know, whatever, plates per side, leg press. Like, what kind of dick measuring contest are we doing here? But I remember like having a thought, and this is like 4 or 5 hours ago, of like, I've more or less lived in constant fear in the gym every single day for the better part of like 8 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think you and I, it's unfortunate to say, but we're over the hill now. Like we've reached the peak. And that's something I still struggle with is like that. Let me take a step back and say that I got into training from the beginning. It was always based around competition for me. And like, yes, I enjoy being in the gym and I enjoy training, but like I was always training for some sort of competition from the beginning. So now like even competing with myself, looking at what I've done before, it's really unmotivating to think like, oh man, I'm just like a sad reflection of that. Like, and I think a lot, I'm not too far from it now, but it's not going to get any better as I age. But it sounds like what you're saying too is that right now we're in the phase where we're kind of dealing with all of the wreckage and the collateral that we put on the table to get to where we got to peak where we did. And now it's like on the other side of that, like what have you learned from it?
Yeah. So yes, I think that's a fair question. What have you learned from it? I had a slightly different approach when I was competing because I was not as relatively good as you were, right? Like I competed in untested powerlifting. I like wasn't willing to do what it took to, and like look, guys, and it's not a drug taking competition, but like there's part of it is that like, I got into it late too. Like I was just strong because I liked lifting weights. Like I was squatting mid 500 pounds just at a recreational gym, master grass for reps. Like I was just like kind of a bodybuilder athlete guy that like didn't play hockey anymore and liked to work out. Right. Like I was pulling and squatting mid 5s before I ever like, oh, what's powerlifting? Like what's a meet? How do I do that? But like I think one of the things that I learned quickly that's helped me now was, dude, my training partner was the strongest dude in the world. Literally. Like it's just you just want to like dash your dreams of competing with anyone. So I made a frame shift really early. Like when we started the business and I was about a year into powerlifting, probably checks out. I think my first meet was 2015. And I quickly ascended through like local meets and shit. I think I did one local meet. My second meet was Reebok record breakers. And I was competing against guys breaking world records. It helped having like a pretty good social network at the time. And again, like your training partner being the strongest dude in the world. But like, I was like, oh, when I'm competing in powerlifting, I'm not really competing with I can't, right? Like, it's not like, the Dan, the Andrew Herberts, the Jordan Wongs, the Joe Sullivans, and the list goes like on and on. I think Steve Gentili was competing at one of my meets. Like, these are fucking monsters. Like Steve was benching like mid 5s. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I look over at like other academics running businesses and I go, oh, you're pretty small. I beat the fucking brakes off of you. And so I was like, so that was what I did. And now I'm at a point where, I've done it. There's videos of me doing it. There's numbers on a website somewhere. No one can take that away. And when I look around everyone else who like does what we do in the general population, I'm still fucking way stronger than most people that aren't those people still. Yeah. So it's like, you know what I think it was? I never had hope. You may have had hope. Like, I think that was my benefit. Like from the gate, I was just like, there's no scenario where I train hard enough to catch these guys. It's just not in the cards, right? Like, cause I started, I went from a mid 5 squat to a mid 7 squat in the matter of a couple of years. That's in wild. My mid 20s, right? I went from a low 300s bench to like a low to mid 400s bench. And I went from a mid 5 deadlift to a mid 7 deadlift. So I put 500 pounds on my total without ever doing a total in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And even then I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, okay, the intersection point of my skill running into some sort of injury is going to like inevitably do it. So I never struggled with that. And I don't struggle with it now. I struggle with not feeding that machine. I struggle with not doing hard things.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's always going to be a good outlet for that, because that's, I think, inevitably where it comes to like where people start to fall off in training is that they don't challenge themselves. Right. Is that, and I think that's all too common. And that's like, it's a very easy way, a very subjective way to, challenge yourself. And like, when you get to that brink of, okay, like this is difficult, I could call it at 12 reps, or I can get another 3. And it's like, it's that, repetitive way to challenge yourself and kind of put yourself in a position where, all right, I could quit here, or I could really make it hurt. And there's something about that I do love that. And that's like kind of where, like, at a point in my training, a lot of it was based around hypertrophy training before I got into like CrossFit and weightlifting. And now it's kind of coming back towards hypertrophy / strength training. And that's something I've like recently rediscovered that like I really like about training, is just making myself hurt a lot.
Yeah. I think to go back to your initial question about like, what have I learned? And it's as much to do with my training as it is of watching other people navigate training as a part job, vocation, hobby, interest, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the work is never done.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I've really learned, because there's and it's not for everyone. And it's not a badge of honor that I still lift the way that I do, but the work isn't done. Like there's still, and I think this every single day I'm in the gym, is there's still so much to learn. And I'm very much like a depth over distance type of person. Like if I get into something, like I get into it. Like I got one tattoo when I was 21. Hi. I did 100 hours in the chair last year alone, and my goal by the end of next year is not to have any space left that's not on my face, right? Like I picked up a guitar when I was 8. I've been playing for, what's the math on 8? I'm 34, 26 years or something like that, right? So like I get into things like for life. Like it's not like I don't go through phases. Yeah. I'm not a phase. Oh, that phase. Oh, that summer I watched a lot of Seinfeld. That's every summer. I know every episode.
Right.
I'll listen to the same song for like 5 months. And I'm not saying like listen to the song in a playlist. Like, no. I will literally listen to the exact same song on repeat every day. I'm listening I don't listen to anything else. So like the one thing I've learned is the value in understanding that the work is never done. And it's like, regardless of accolades or competition or trophies, like I think learning to me is tantamount to something. If there was a meaning to life, this is probably all just like a really mean simulation by some, weird overseer in some depth of many hundreds and billions of simulations. But like, if there was a point, I think learning is probably pretty close to the point of being here.
Yeah.
I think that's like, being of service, but like learning, you want to be of service. You don't fucking know anything. You can't really help anyone. Right? You go to a leper colony or help a bunch of invalids or something. But other than that, you're pretty useless until you start learning shit. So like I found obviously a lot of benefit from learning stuff about training.
Yeah.
That's what we do for a living. We just are professional knowing about training. That's what we are. That's what it should say in my LinkedIn. And for me, every single day I'm in the gym, I'm playing with some idea. I'm trying to make a theoretical representation real. So I think that as far as like things I've learned, I've forgotten more stuff than I probably know now. But I think what I've learned above all else in watching training fluctuate, like people got into training when we would have started. You started before me, and I've watched them veer off and lose interest. and I've watched them, go into other pursuits of training or get out of any sort of physical activity and then veer back in. And, I think everything is a representation, right? Like, people can look at training as like an analogy for life. And like, I don't really abide by a lot of that stuff, but like, this desk can be a metaphor for life if you're creative enough. Where it's like, it holds up some stuff and you got to carry it, like it's whatever. But I think what I've learned is that, you got to see things through till you're done, and you're never done, and then you're dead. I think actually, you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I have a better answer. In 20 years, we'll all be wrong. And then in 20 years after that, we'll all be dead. So I think training has allowed me to take it's kind of shown me that, like, I started reading strength training, like what I would consider to be fairly high level strength training material at quite a young age. Like I was reading articles that most people our age who are professionals don't know about, and books that they don't know. Like I read Sif and Verkhoshansky when I was like 14, which was, mind you, that was 2004, right? Like most people aren't coming across that until grad school or better. So it's like, and then you see things come and go and come and go. And, something will come and then be demonized. And then so it's like, okay, what's it matter? What's it matter? So I think but those two things are tied together. The fact that I've been consistently in the same thing. I've been able to see the seasons change in this domain for so many years and see things come in that has really given me a sense of like, oh, no one knows what's going on. Yeah. And it's all just fucking waves in the ocean, and we're all just a drop in the bucket. And then, you're going to be right. And then in 20 years, you're going to be wrong. And then in 20 years after that, you're going to be dead. So who fucking cares? So that's like a big picture. Now, I think we could get into specifics, but I'm curious if you have like a big picture. What have you learned from like training affecting your life? Like something metaphysical like that.
Yeah. I think it's hard to extrapolate like just one thing, but there's a lot of metaphors I think I pull from training and I can transfer, like laterally apply in life. Like I'm trying to be concise with this in my brain, but I think I'm just going to talk and see where it goes.
Let the drugs talk.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, like I said, when I started training, it was based around competition, right? Like and I mean that in a very informal sense at a young age. Like I said, I was probably like 10, 12, like working out, like in my dad's basement, because he had just a bunch of workout equipment. And like through that, it's like when you're that young and when you're that early into training, anything and everything works, right? You see results from everything that you do. It's, you're sore, like your muscles get bigger, you get stronger, you see like all those newbie gains really quickly. And then that quickly turned into me training for sport, which I was wrestling at the time. And like when I was leaving middle school, getting into high school, so like 12, 13 years old, I started training. We had probably one of the best wrestlers that Pennsylvania's ever seen. Just in my high school at the time I was there, and he went into like D1, like smart kid, went Ivy League, wrestled at UPenn, and just like all the way around, just like high achiever. And like his dad had this kind of like, invite only lifting club that I eventually, got the pity invite, and I was able to start lifting with them. But yeah, but what it turned out to be was like, yeah, I'm doing whatever, like on the multi-unit that my dad has in his basement, like bench press, quad extension, leg press, pull down. Cool. And then I go into this like gym environment, and it's not intelligently programmed whatsoever, but it was like, it was everything you could think of in one day. And it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'd roll in, we'd like pyramid up to a top single on bench press, drop down, do an AMRAP, do like some laterals and like some shoulder press, and then go back, do like weighted pull-ups until we couldn't. And then it was like buys, tries. And then we'd go to the squat rack, we'd work up to a heavy single, then we go deadlift to a heavy single, then we go clean to a heavy single, and we'd finish with either like sled push or like grip work or something out like core work. And I do that 3 times a week, and it was really fucking hard. And I got significantly stronger. Like as a 13-year-old, I think I was benching like close to 2 plates. And that's like, I'm not a big guy, not at that. Like I was probably wrestling 135 my freshman year in high school. So it's like, all right, that's not bad proportionately. But in doing that, like I sprained my SI joint like pretty bad to the point where I couldn't lift, I couldn't really wrestle. And it wasn't like anything that plagued me, but it was like a significant injury. My old man, shout out, just stabbed me with a cortisone shot, and I was back at it in a couple weeks. But like that was kind of a catalyst for me into learning. Like kind of like you were saying, is you were reading high level strength and conditioning literature at a young age, and like that's what set the trajectory for me. Is like, all right, this like I see the correlation between this and getting better at wrestling, and like I really like getting stronger. Like it's something that I think I have a good affinity for, and it's something I enjoy doing. Like I want to be able to do this better, because it was just whatever it was like in me at the time. I knew like what I was doing wasn't the most effective way to do it, and maybe that's from like talking to trainers and like doing a bit of learning on my own. But that's something that really set the trajectory for me. Like you were saying, is like, all right, I'm going to learn everything I can about this. And I just got really fucking curious. And that's something that like, that's a principle that kind of like you were saying, like you've been playing guitar since you were 8. And it's not like, it's not just a phase or something. It's like, that's what strength and conditioning was for me. And it's not necessarily that like, that it was a specific discipline, because like throughout my lifetime in training, I've gone different pathways, and I've taken them literally as far as I can. Like from there, like it was strength and conditioning for sport. That sport was wrestling. And then I veered off and I got into like hypertrophy training for bodybuilding. I competed in bodybuilding. I'm like, man, this is really gay. Not going to do this.
So good.
And then it like kind of went back into strength training. But after I got out of wrestling, it was more so like I lost that that competitive nature around what I was doing. And I'm like, all right, how can I take this and how can I compete in this? And that's how I got into CrossFit, which was just literally just a competitive outlet. I didn't necessarily like CrossFit itself, and I thought there were a lot of parts of CrossFit that were really dumb. But I liked the competitive nature of it, and I didn't really have an outlet for that at the time. So like I took that literally as far as I could. I got as good as I could at it, learning everything I could about everything I could about it. And then when I got to an impasse there, I'm like, all right, let's pivot. I'm pretty good at weightlifting because of this thing that I was doing. I'm going to learn everything I can about weightlifting. And I kind of went that direction. And same thing, got as good as I could at it. And then it's kind of coming full circle back more to like just hypertrophy and strength training as the root. Oh, man, we were doing so good. There we go. But strength and hypertrophy training as like the root of kind of what I fell in love with training. And now it's really cool. Like you said, maybe I am a Renaissance man, but I'm coming back around to it. Like this style of training that it was like kind of the crux for all of my training, but I'm coming through with a different lens on it. And that's the part that like maybe what I can say is similar around the same thing that you said. Like the learning's never done. The job's never done. There's always something more you can learn. There's always a different perspective you can take on, and there's a different application to it. Because I have a feeling a lot of this is similar with you, but like a lot of the reason I went to chiropractic school in my mind was so I could learn more about the human body so I can apply that to training. And that's something like the anatomy, the physiology, the stuff that we would learn in school. It's like, all right, like what does this mean for training? And I would like literally, dude, I was training people out of a CrossFit gym when we were in school, and I would go and I would just sit down in the corner and like watch CrossFit classes, and I just watch people move. And I would try and like in my head play out like what was happening as they were moving, like at the joints, and like, as they were moving, like what was going wrong, and just kind of try and break it down. So that's like, I guess what I've learned from training is how can I continue that curiosity and take it as far as I can, and then how can I apply that to like deconstruct whatever's going on and find solutions for the things that are breaking down to make it better. So it's I guess that's my way of just assessment and intervention in anything, really. I think that's the way I've learned it. Like the way that I was just talking to a kid in the gym that's like, he's getting his master's in mechanical engineering. Like it's kind of the same thing. Like it's, if you laterally apply, like it's, I'm breaking things down and I'm figuring out what's failing. Maybe it's mechanical, maybe it's something else. And then I'm applying a specific intervention. And that's something I've been able to like laterally apply to, like, say, relationships or finances, or, you know, anything that's going on in life. If you can look at it and you can strip it down to, all right, these are the base components, these are the principles in which, you know, I'm going to see progress in these areas. How can I improve X, Y, and Z and get the result that I want to get?
Yeah, I think training teaches you how to learn.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's like the big, for me, as you were talking, that kind of became like the big takeaway was like, and I see, you know, I'm an advocate of the saying of how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I see when people, you know, they go through training and there's a satisfaction with how much they've learned, and there's a stasis and there's a stagnation, and they go, I'm good here.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see is, I see how that, in that case, how that gets laterally applied, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with powerlifting or with school or with, you know, putting on, I mean, the stuff I used to do to put on muscle was just insane. But it's like, say yes and figure it out. Training that will do that. I think competition is a good driver for that. Like when I first signed up for my first meet, I didn't sign up at all. Dan signed me up. Like, I'm registering for your first meet. I was like, I don't want to go. It's like, you're going to do it. And I was like, okay. And he did it, and I figured it out. And then you learn, and then you learn how strong you are. Number one, you're like, oh, okay, fuck. All right. Like, deadlift that, squat that, bench that. Now I have to go learn how to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people who are like, you know, people who are, I'm going to go do a color run. I was like, all right, what's your time? I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't learn how fast you were? Like, that's what you're doing when you're timing yourself. You're learning how fast you are. And then you have to, like you said, deconstruct that problem. And I just don't think, because training has so many different, like you said, so many different lenses that it's looked at through. I think so rarely is it looked at through the lens of learning. And it's like, there are, you know, metaphorical comparisons you can make, but there's like quite literally biochemical links between the two. Like, it's not any wonder why the largest, you know, computer companies in the world have corporate incentivized gyms on campus, because it's like, you know, the cross application of the fortitude and the resilience and the commitment it takes to like learn what it takes to go through and get stronger or bigger or faster or whatever. Like, sure, you can reply, cross apply that resiliency. There's also like a very synergistic biochemical response to training that actually allows you to learn other things, cognitive skills, faster as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know people who purely train for that reason, right? I know people who are writers. I know people who are engineers that specifically train for the after effect of what that does to their biochemistry and physiology, so that they can be more productive in learning the other skills. So it's not only it's not only the psychological habitual dedication and the doing things you don't want to and doing things that are hard, and looking at that as some sort of motivation or proof that you can do things hard, so that you sit with the uncomfortable feeling of not knowing stuff in other domains. But there's quite literally like the physiological responses from training that allow cognitive learning to actually take place at a much higher rate. So I just, and when I see people who give up on training and go do the fucking, I don't know, jiu-jitsu or something, which, like, I don't want to pick on jiu-jitsu, because I think there's a skill component to that, which also leads to a ton of learning. So we'll leave jiu-jitsu alone for now. But it's like, I don't know, people who give up and go do some other hobby. I'm like, you're stupid. Like, you're stupid. You're giving up on learning. And I'm looking at you. I'm like, you haven't solved problems yet, right? Like,
Yeah.
you haven't gone to the depths required to show me the outcome of a problem that you had that's solved. You still have all the same problems. Like, you're fat and you're out of shape and you're weak as piss. Like, so, but then you see that, like, what do you do for work? Oh, you're a janitor. Or, I'm not saying all janitors are stupid, and you know, probably far from it, but like, there's this, when I see guys who are like I was in fucking, where was I? I was in Czech Republic, and I was up at 5 a.m. training in the hotel gym. And there's this guy that came down, like suited up on the treadmill, did some TRX stuff, a couple of body weights, pull ups, good shape, like not, big or anything like that, not super strong, but you could tell he didn't get that way by accident.
Mm-hmm.
He got that way by solving a few problems. And
Right.
one seemed to be solving the problem of his fucking schedule. His homeboy was up in the hotel gym at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And that tells me something. This guy tells me that it's like, okay, if he's got something to get done, he gets it done. And I just got talking to him, and he's like some CEO of some like massive fucking company in Europe. And I'm like, exactly. Of course he is. Because this guy's not hitting the fucking old snooze alarm. Oh, I think I'm gonna take 3 or 4 months off. Like, no. So I think there's a learning component to training that is, for most people, I think the lowest hanging fruit in their life, to prove to them and others that they can solve problems and stick with something that is hard. And I'll tell you what, like, of all the things that I've stuck with in my life that are hard, school is one of them.
Yeah.
Right. Uh-huh. And like, a chiropractic college, technically speaking, is not, it's really the time that fucking crushes you, right? Like, you go through 4 years of undergrad, you watch your friends go out into the workforce, you watch yourself go into debt, and then you watch yourself fucking just sit in a classroom for 12 hours a day, 5-6 days a week for 4 years. And you're just like, there's an attrition to it, but there's nothing that'll return in your life. There's nothing that you can overcome that's difficult that will return in your life like training. Like, people like, this is going to sound fucking weird. People just treat you different when you're big, or treat you different when you're in shape, or treat you different when you're strong. See it all the time. From like the weird comments that people will make, like, you're going to get more or less, and like, look, every now and then you're gonna get punched in the head in public because someone wants a shot at the heavyweight belt. But like, I see how people treat fat people. I see how people treat us. I would much prefer the option to be treated the way I get treated in public.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I play guitar. I've went to school. I've done a bunch of hard things for a really long time, and I've gotten good at these things. And nothing offers the benefits package quite like, I went to chiropractic college. You know what that gets me? Ridiculed.
Yeah.
Like, gets me ridiculed on a consistent basis. I play guitar. No one knows. I don't wear band t-shirts, and I don't have long hair. So no one knows that I play guitar. But I've lifted weights for less time than I played guitar, and less time than I've been going to school.
Yeah.
And there's like, I remember walking into a 7-Eleven on 3rd and Pike Street in Seattle, which may as well be downtown fucking Fallujah. And this guy came in, and there was one door in, one door out, and I didn't fucking like it. And I'm in line with a bunch of tweakers, and this guy came in fucking screaming. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is fucking good. And he looked me dead in the face and said, sorry, man. I just walked out. And everyone was like, Jesus, I thought we were smoked. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever. I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
So I challenge people, like, look, stick with it, which is like such a New Year's January type sentiment. But it's honestly, it will teach you that progress isn't linear. It'll teach you that, hard things are worth doing. And it'll teach you that by providing you the skills to overcome and solve new problems, which then you can cross apply.
Yeah. Yeah. I like a lot of what you said there. And I do agree with, there's nothing that you can wear on yourself the way you can of being in shape, right? It's something that someone that doesn't even know you, just walking down the street, like, they can infer that. And there's things that come with that inference, is that, okay, like, this guy is willing to do hard things, or they are committed to something. They can stick to something. And it's a continual challenge to uphold that and maintain that. So that it does tell you a lot about someone before you even know that person. And that's why, like, I don't know, even people that aren't in the fitness industry, like, the people that I resonate with the most, and the people that are probably closest to me in my life, like, their fitness or some level of physical fitness is a big part of their life, because they're the type of person that can subscribe to the constant pursuit of something that, has no real destination. So it is a personality trait that you can see on someone, even if you don't know anything about them.
Shout out Yaniv Gur.
Yo,
Big ups to the big homie.
dude.
What it do, G?
Man.
Look, I'm not going to give it away. Google search Yaniv Gur and tell me what his job title is. Homeboy benches like 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Just say it. Like,
He's the
I think he's
fucking
like
unit.
ex special forces.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Started his startup. It would have been over almost 20 years now. Maybe no, definitely over 20 years.
Yeah.
I think in PA.
2000s. Yeah. Pittsburgh, PA.
Yeah. And then what is he, like the fucking VP of Apple?
What is he, dude? I can't even remember he's like VP of engineering or something like very significant.
Something important.
Yeah. He's the guy that like gives the thumbs up or the thumbs down on all the apps that come on your iPhone. That's essentially.
I think he created the Notes app. Like the Notes app that I use every today. Senior Director of Engineering at Apple. My fucking guy. Yeah, but like beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And he lives it, man. He's been living it. He's just the coolest dude. But so there's something to be said, and kind of some points that I want to pull out of what you said is like the ability to learn is a positive reinforcement loop on the ability to learn, right? That's kind of the idea behind neuroplasticity. Like if you want to continue getting better at learning things, you need to continue to learn new things because it's a pathway in your brain that you need to learn to rewire, and you need to learn, if you're good at playing chess, you might not be good at playing ping pong, right? And it's completely different nerve pathway that you need to be able to use those motor skills and whatever it is. If it could be literally anything, it could be playing, I don't know, Sudokus on your phone or, crossword puzzles, like shit like that. They tell old people to do so that they can prolong like nerve degeneration or like early onset Alzheimer's, shit like that. So like there is something to continually learning, and a big part of that, like one of the hardest things to do is physical learning, like being able to do physical tasks. And that's something that so many people, man, I've worked with so many people that aren't getting into working out till later in life. And you tell them like, no, like you're rounding your back, like straighten out, like brace your core. And they do the complete opposite, or they'll like punch you in the head because they thought they need to straighten out their elbow. Like people have no idea how to use your body. So that's such a big opportunity for learning, just a kinesthetic awareness that comes with working out. I think there's so much to be had from that. And then kind of the other thing that I was pulling from what you were saying, that's I think probably one of the most valuable lessons, so coming full circle on this, that I've taken from training is the ability to delay gratification, right? It's something that you do initially. Like the first time you work out, it's going to be a bad experience. Like the first time I went to the gym with homie that I wrestled with dad, and they just like ran me through it. I remember my mom picked me up. I got out of the car. She had like this like glass door that you have to pull open before you could open her door. I pull open the glass door and I could barely open my hands to grab the door handle because I had claw hands from just gripping bars and dumbbells and machines for 3 hours in the gym. And it's like, that's not a good experience. That's a very bad experience. You're going to have a bad time, and it's only going to get worse for the next 2 or 3 days.
So the comparison I could make to that is like, remember the first time you got laid? Yeah, that. It's basically that. Just like kind of shame and you can't work door handles. Like, yeah, and your mom picks you up. Yeah, like that's pretty much. Remember how that went for you? Yeah. Welcome to being a virgin again in your 30s if you're just getting into working out now. So
don't quit. It gets better.
It gets worse for a bit, and then you figure it out a little bit. But that's an analogy, and it's you watch some people learning how to lift weights in their mid 30s, and they may as well be trying to fuck a door handle.
This guy does not fuck.
No,
there's no way this guy can fuck.
No, oh
man. But on a more serious note, yeah, I don't know how to bring that back, but delayed gratification is the reason that I have anything worth having in this world. And I'm not saying I have much or it's something to strive for, but it's just chasing that instant high, like that's not going to get you anywhere worth being. That's how you get a drug addiction, like homie that turned his insulin to fentanyl that fought you in the middle of the night. Like that's what you get if you keep chasing instant gratification. Like you need to learn that if you can commit to something and the process kind of sucks dick, but it's going to get you somewhere you need to go, you need to commit to that process and suck the dicks along the way to get to where you're going to go.
I feel like homie.
I didn't think this is where this was going to go.
Doing
But
fentanyl and sucking dick. So
yeah, you're going to end up sucking dicks one way or another. So
yeah, look, that's life. That's life. Just you might as well get it out of the way. Jesus Christ on earth.
Oh, this is the least motivating speech I think anyone.
It depends on who is listening to it.
That's true.
It could be very motivating to someone.
Hey.
I don't even know if that's an apt analogy because I would assume that's harder.
Yeah.
I just heard your soul leave your body.
Yeah. How do we get here? How do we get
you're the captain of this ship, Mr. Phillips. Sorry, dog.
That one.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think most of the people listening have kept training for a while, right? I don't think you can tolerate the sound of our voice for any length of time, but I don't know how many look at it as the opportunity to learn, right? Like, and if you center your life around training, and I mean that, like some people center their life around music or the church or sports teams or whatever. If you center your life around training, you will, the likelihood that you will adopt habits that coincide with being successful in the way the world works now is probably higher than just about anything I could think of outside of just academia. If you center yourself in academia, you'll make yourself invaluable. You're smarter than other people as long as you're not like an absolute dial tone. Like I know I had one cat at Stanford that I work with. Fucking awesome dude when I got to know him, but like a little bit tough to get to know because he did I think 2 or 3 different math PhDs at Stanford, and he'd been doing his PhD for 17 years.
What the fuck?
Like he's been working towards, and like he's a doctor twice over. And when I was working, I mean, we're talking almost a decade ago, but like, you know, he's fine. He never has to worry about money in his life because the pursuit of going through a PhD and like the advisorship and like the eating shit, delayed gratification. One of his fucking advisors died in his like second PhD and they had to like start over. It's like, dude, are you fucking joking me? Like, all right, yeah, I've torn a pec and pretty much feel like I had to start over. Right. So other than academia, I don't think there's something that you could center your life around. And I think it is useful to center your life around something. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what finds you if you don't center your life around something? Fentanyl finds you. Because no. There's like a technical, like the reward systems of opiates are pretty much the reward systems that are in place to reward you for doing hard things worth doing. It's just the only hard thing that you did was find a vein, right? So it's like it's technically kind of true. I just think like, you know, I knew this cat who did the PhDs, but like I couldn't tell that you talk to him and you realize he's fucking lights out smart. Like some of the shit that he would do is like, he would use like he figured out a way to create a radar system that can tell you where gas is leaking. So like if there was a gas leak, they could just drive a car by it and they use a radar system. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty easy, right? Like gas has a different particle density than regular air. So if there's gas leaking, I can send this radar out and I'll get it back. But if I know the distances of all of the things, I'll get a different distance. I can tell you where. I was like, the fact that he was 1, able to figure that out, and 2, able to explain it to me in about 40 seconds. I was like, you're actually the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah. But unless you take the time to talk to him, you don't really know. Right. So like I challenge people because, you know, new year, new me, all that bullshit. I see a lot of people who are striving towards balance. And I think that to be, the word sin technically means a miss. technically speaking, like the word sin, religious context, actually stems the root word of sin, where it comes from originally. I think it's like from an Aramaic word or something like that. Actually means like missing the target. I think, at least in our age, striving for balance is a sin, in the fact that you're completely missing the point of being in your mid 30s or early 30s or 20s.
Yeah.
Center yourself around something so you know how to center yourself around something. Right? Like I can't say it like, imagine, I you having kids? Any thought on that? Where are you at on the kids like one day train?
Oh man,
Okay, hold on. If they come, are you going out for a pack of smokes and never coming back?
no, dude. I think I'd be a great father, but it's
I
not.
think so.
I thank you. It's not something that I want to. It's not something I feel that I have the bandwidth to dedicate my time to at this point in life. So it's not something I'm going
Right.
to do at this point in life.
And I'm going to offer this up. You say that and act as if you know that, because you know what it takes to dedicate your time to something.
Right.
You know what it takes to do something to a level worth doing. And it's like that. I think there's and you can find this in certain in certain things. Or I'm looking around my desk, writing, music, art, things that it can teach you that through experience. And I just think, like, look, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like maybe half in on like balance in your life, because anything that you're giving part of your attention to is not part of your attention, because you don't know what all of your attention is, because you've never given all of your attention to anything. So like I see the most mediocre people, like, your life is balance. What are you talking about? Like, I'm going to strive for balance. Like, how would you strive for striving?
Yeah.
How would you try trying, you fuck? And look, and it's training that has taught me that. And I think, with the bruises and the scars, and but also the lifts and the saw and the muscle and all that, like because people have nothing to show for their lives. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I can't relate to it. I feel like I've always strived for what's just out of reach, right? Whether that's with training, it's absolutely with training. Like, that's why I continually fail and continually come back to the gym. But whether that's, with business, with life, like any goals I have, I want it to be bigger than what I think I can obtain. Because if it's something that I know I can obtain, then there's not that level of commitment. It's like, oh yeah, I could just sleepwalk and do this, whatever. But I want it to be something that I know, like, I need to commit. I need to overcommit to this, because it's going to take everything that I have in me and then some more to make this happen. And that's like, if it's not that, then I don't want it. Like, literally, if it's not that, then I won't even pursue it. Like, that's why I don't have like a ton of hobbies or other things. Like, that's just a distraction. Like, I'm not going to go. A lot of people around here go up to Tahoe and they go snowboarding, and they go and they spend an entire weekend like going out there and just like, I don't know, drinking and rolling an ankle or whatever the fuck they do. It's like, that's a distraction from the things that I want to do. That's taking away from my goals. They're going to take everything that I have in me to be able to accomplish. Like, that's not balance to me. That's like skewing it way in the other direction. That's a distraction. It's like, balance in my mind is a distraction from the life that you've created that you probably aren't happy with. Like, I'm here just fucking, I'd rather be miserable because I'm chasing the dream that I want to have, the thing that I want to accomplish, that's the delayed gratification, not the easy thing that I need a distraction from every 5 days.
Yeah, I think asking yourself the question, are you happy? And if your answer is yes, it's like, you're not working hard enough. You're not, you don't have enough, you don't have big enough goals. If you wake up every day and you're like, smelling the roses, you're just like, dude, there's a time for that. And they're going to smell better if you don't fucking smell them every day.
I think true happiness, there has to be a pursuit of something, right? It's not a destination. You don't just get to a point and you're now happy, right? There has to be some sort of continual pursuit of betterment of yourself or your situation or those around you. I don't think happiness is something that people can just idle in. It's like, it's not a state. It's a transient state, right? It's like, you have glimpses of happiness or things that bring you happiness. But I don't believe that people are just truly inherently happy. They might be ignorant, but I think there is a component of pursuit that you need to have have that transient happiness in your life.
And this is gonna sound fucked up, and I don't want to sound like a martyr. I just want to sound like the idiot that I am. I don't really know what happiness means to other people. Cause like peace. Oh, if I
Yeah.
can get a little peace, I'm assuming that's what other people mean by happiness.
Yeah.
Because like, dude, I've had a couple times in the last couple of years that I remember where I would just like sat down and like drank my pre-workout or something. And my brain was just like an empty vat. And it wasn't like, oh fuck, like, what's the Shopify store at? Where's the lead gen at? Oh, okay, I gotta check my emails. Fuck, I got a 7:00, a 7:30, a 7:45, and 8, and not. Okay, I'm gonna be up until I gotta I literally remember, like, I think about them sometimes. I remember that time I sat in that Airbnb and just sat. Like me and fucking Bagheero in Edmonton a few years ago, we ate Nando's and sat on the couch. And like, I don't know, you had to go get a COVID test or some shit.
Yeah.
Remember that? And like, you
Yeah,
went
I
with
remember.
Schultz to his old lady, and me and Bagheero just sat on the couch. I think about that like 3 times a week, because Bagheero is like, when you're friends with Eric Bagheero, you're friends because you can just sit in the room and like, he doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
Love the guy to pieces. He's gonna write the foreword for the 2nd edition of the L1 manual. So very excited about that. And like, that's a moment I think about often. I was like, yeah, if you don't strive for that, then you're missing the point. And like, I think training can offer that. Like, it can offer you the value that comes with like an off day. To me now, from training is like, oh, right. And it's just like, it seems like such a meathead philosophy thing, but honestly, the older I get, and obviously self-selecting for people that we have in our lives that are obviously into training, it's like, you can't not land the metaphysical plane somewhere in this conversation if you do this long enough. And I just don't see it in other places. Like, I don't know, I go to museums when I travel. Like, I like art, I like architecture, I like, literature and all that, but I just don't see those hobbies, those vocations carrying with it the same lessons that weight training do. And I'm not saying they don't. I just don't see it because I don't do it. So, I mean, to kind of put a bow on this, if I had to say, like, what are the lessons learned from training, is that you can learn lessons from training, and training is learning. And I think embracing that as an ethos makes training more than just like a thing you do for your health and longevity. Yeah. It's like a thing you do so you don't kill yourself. Quite literally, a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think for me, it lands somewhere around like, be in the pursuit of it to be in the pursuit of it. Like, there's a lot of lessons along the way, like, and that will teach you the lessons that will carry into other areas of life. But like, even if it's not training, like, be in the pursuit of something. But I think training is a really easy, accessible way for people to learn what it is to pursue something meaningful.
I fuck with it. Didn't think we'd go there, but we went there. I'm glad we did. And there goes my camera again. Yeah. And there we are back. Jesus. All right. We'll call it a week.
Yeah.
L1 next Monday.
I believe it's this previous Monday. By the time this will go out, I think this is the first week of
Still time to register.
Yeah.
www.pre-script.com. We can listen to all of our strength training musings for 16 weeks.
Cool. We'll see you there, guys.
All right. Wrap there.
Thanks.